wow. How do we do this? Just lift. All right. Hi, everybody. I am so happy to be here in September. He stole my opening line. It was really cold the last time. So I am really inspired by everything I've heard tonight. It's really been amazing. Natalie, no worries on the opening prayer. It was beautiful. You were speaking from the heart. It's okay. So I'm really proud to call Greater Des Moines Habitat my colleagues. These are some great people doing some amazing, amazing work in this city and throughout the region. So last year, Memphis Habitat celebrated our 40th anniversary. We've been around for a long time. And as fate would have it, as we started putting our plans together, associated with our strategic plan, we said, what are we gonna name this? Guess what we called it? Framing the Future. So I think Lance was listening in and stealing some of our ideas. But we like to trade, it's okay. But in fact, we're carrying that forward as we too are embarking on a really significant, comprehensive campaign. This work is hard. It's really difficult. And if we were trying to raise the money year after year to serve families, a campaign can get us so much farther. And I'm so happy that over $10 million has been raised here at Greater Des Moines. Congratulations again. And so when Lance reached out, I thought, me? You want me to talk about my story? So I was really humbled, and I really appreciate that. I was surprised, but still humbled and happy to come and to do this. And so I only started really telling my story about 8 years ago. And I really think it's important because we quite often invite our home buyers up to stand on a podium and to talk about their experiences. And I've been watching our home buyers do that for years and secretly thinking about my own experience and if I would ever want to reveal what that was. And I was really afraid to, even though I've been with the affiliate for decades now. So it remains difficult for me to talk about it, so I just want you to bear with me as I tell my story. Because I do firmly believe that it's important to get the message out. And I believe that my past, my lived experience, is why I'm so passionate about this work. I know personally how where you live can make you sick. So, and I also know how moving out of those conditions can keep you healthy for the rest of your life and have a ripple effect on you. So, this is me. I was a cute baby, right? Okay, I wanna make sure you agree. So the baby you see here looks happy, and I was. But what you can't see is a child who was sick a lot. So as a baby, my mother, she continues to tell me these stories, I think to guilt me, that she had to hold me upright as a child just to make sure that I could breathe. Do you remember Vicks Vapor Rub? Everybody know what that is? She used to put it under my nostrils and on my chest every night to help me breathe. And I can remember the smell of the Vicks. I think it's amazing how smells can create nostalgia. And nostalgia is sort of, I don't know, it's either sad, happy, melancholy. It's a mix of all those things. My mom was young. She had me when she was 18, and she didn't know that our house was making me sick. The house was the culprit. And until I was 16, my family lived in an old, drafty house. You'd probably call it a shack if you saw it today. We had mice, and I'm sure mold and mildew in that old house. And little Dwayne had bronchitis. And so I really struggled to breathe normally for most of my formative years. There's my grandmother. That's what our house looked like. Look at the ceiling. And we had no indoor plumbing. no indoor plumbing. That meant no toilet, no bathtub, and no sink to wash dishes in. Hard to see that picture. My grandmother died when I was 16, around the time that we got to move out of that house. And because we didn't have an indoor bathroom, I used to have this overwhelming fear and anxiety that one day we would have company and someone would say, "Can I use your bathroom?" Seems like a pretty simple request, if indeed you have a bathroom. So I literally used to worry and stress about what I would tell a person if they asked to use the bathroom. It was literally one of my biggest fears during my adolescence. It wasn't the bully on the playground, because I did have some of those. It wasn't that mean teacher who didn't understand little sensitive Dwayne. But it was not having a bathroom and carrying that weight. That was my anxiety. That's a lot of pressure for a young kid. I was really ashamed. I was embarrassed. We also didn't have an HVAC system, so no central air and heat. So the summers were really hot. We had that one window unit that we'd use to keep one room cool. That's all it would do. And in the winters, in that same room, we had one of those old-time wood burning fireplaces. There you go. And I remember the piping that used to come up out of there and having to cut the wood and bring the wood in to make the fire. And again, that smell of the wood burning, the nostalgia for me, just thinking about that. It wasn't easy. I also didn't have my own room in that old house. I slept the entire time on a couch in the same room as my mom. It was only after a house fire forced us to move that things changed. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. Has anyone here ever experienced a house fire? Raise your hand if you have. It's devastating. It's a sickening, devastating feeling of loss. So our entire family had spent the weekend in the city. I grew up in a small town outside of Memphis, and so we had spent the weekend at my aunt's house in Memphis. And we got a call late at night, early into the next morning. We sprang up out of our beds. We took the 45-minute drive back to that old shack that now, for some reason, felt more like our house, more like a home. And when we got there, the house was like one large pillar of black ash and smoke. And we were devastated. We were stunned. Suddenly, not having a bathroom, not having running water or central heat and air did not matter. Our house was gone. We'd lost it. We felt lost. So what do you do after a fire? First, you thank God that nobody was hurt. And then you pick up your life and you literally move on. And that's what we did. We moved to an apartment building, and it was the first time I actually had my own bedroom. I was 16, finally had my private space. We, my family, finally had a bathroom. This was 1983, it wasn't that long ago. So for most of you, that whole thing about having a bathroom or bathtub may seem like a simple thing, but it was really significant for us. I could finally take a bath without having to heat the water on the stove and put it into one of those old-time metal tubs, just like that. Can you imagine trying to fit your entire body into that? Maybe as a baby, but not at 16. Couldn't do it. so I think what I've learned is that the fire that we thought was the most devastating thing that could ever happen was actually our liberation. That's how I see it. It was our liberation from substandard living conditions. We had to change. We had to do something different. We had to create a new lived experience. And we did. We imagined, we dreamed a little, and we created a different future for ourselves. And in many ways, I have to say, we were lucky. No one was hurt, but it pushed us to do better for ourselves. And so why am I telling you all of this? Partly because Jenna asked me to, and Lance approved. Because it's certainly not easy standing in front of 500 people. I wish we could get 500 people at an event in Memphis. We gotta work on that. It's not easy to stand up in front of 500 people and tell this particular story and to talk about this lived experience, but it's necessary. It's necessary because I believe in the mission of Habitat for Humanity. And I know that house fires can be tragic, life-changing occurrences. Lives can be lost. Material possessions can be destroyed or damaged. And yes, we had some valuable possessions that we lost, but we gained so much more. I know personally how moving out of those conditions shaped my life and my future. I know the relief that moving out of substandard housing can bring. I know that the trajectory of a life can change when you don't have to worry about the roof over your head. I mean, quite literally. Quite literally. In many ways, I believe I was destined to do this work. I really do. I've had so many other options for jobs and for work, and somehow I ended up here at Habitat for Humanity. My lived experience of being sick in that little house, being pushed forward by the fire, it stoked my passion, and it directly influenced why I chose Habitat. I actually chose Habitat 3 times. So in the mid-90s, I interviewed for a fundraising job at our local affiliate. They weren't interested. I didn't get the job. That's okay. Because there's a new ending to the story. There's a twist. I then worked for Habitat for Humanity International down in the little town of Americus, Georgia, just 8 miles from Plains, but I didn't like it very much. And so I went back to Memphis. I missed home. And in 2001, I found myself actually leading this affiliate. And so last month, I celebrated 23 years as CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Greater Memphis. Thank you. And like Lance's experience, I'm sure, my organization has really grown significantly. We had 9 people, 9, when I got there, and we have nearly 90 today. We had a $1 million budget back then. This year is a little bit more than $25 million. And we've gone from doing infill housing to doing entire neighborhoods, much like here in Greater Des Moines. And from only building and selling new homes to creating a home repair program, which Lance mentioned. We call it aging in place. We now build 25 plus houses a year and repair more than 250 a year. I'm really proud of that. I have traveled with Habitat for Humanity International to learn about the global issues, housing crisis around the world, to places like Guatemala, Nicaragua, Nepal, Costa Rica, and the Ivory Coast in West Africa. I've met a president. And you know, what I learned while spending time with President Carter, well, first, I want to set the stage and make a few people jealous, maybe. So we had the Carter Work Project in Memphis in 2016. And as we were sitting in front of about 100 business people, I had President Carter on my left and Garth Brooks on my right, and I was just very happy. It was good. It was all good. But the 39th president of the United States turned to me after I told my story for one of the first times. And he said, Dwayne, yes, I also grew up without indoor plumbing. And I said, but that was in the 30s. Substandard housing conditions have not suddenly disappeared either, Yes, President Carter was experiencing them in the 20s and 30s. 50 years later, I was a little kid experiencing them in West Tennessee. And when I got to Habitat in 2001, it was still happening. There was a housing crisis then, and there's one now. Things may look a little bit different from way back then, but we still have a housing crisis. Nearly every week, I get an email from someone out there who is seeking the opportunity to build and buy a home for the first time. Where do they get my email? That's what I wonder. Or I get emails from folks who want to make repairs to their homes. They're looking for an opportunity. On the other side of that coin, I get to see the faces of our home buyers after they've been to the closing table and they have the keys in their hands. I get to hear the stories from our aging in place team as they talk about older adults who've had their roof repaired, a floor solidified, higher toilets, handrails. They don't have a fear of falling anymore. They have independence again. Every email for help and every success story deepens my commitment to Habitat's vision of a world where everyone has a decent place to call home. So now, I want you to just kind of think about your own lived experience and about the folks here in Des Moines. So if you want, maybe close your eyes for a second. Just close your eyes if you want. Picture your communities here in Des Moines. I'm sure you know this, but too many people are living in conditions that are unsafe and unhealthy. They face rising rent and too few options to buy a home for the first time. It's even more difficult for the families that Greater Des Moines Habitat is serving, who don't have the incomes to buy homes the traditional way. That is why we exist. That is why we are needed more than ever. In Des Moines, in Memphis, in Omaha, and around the world. You can open your eyes. So I've spent the majority of my career at Habitat because I don't want another child to have to feel the way that I did as a young kid. I don't want them to struggle and feel the anxiety that I felt. That pushes me. It drives me because I know that we can do more. We have to do more. And I know that you don't want that either, right? Because you care about your community. You're here. It's evident that you care. You could be anywhere else right now. And I realize that the housing crisis today, again, doesn't look like what I described when I was a child. The physical condition of the home is not what we hear about the most these days. Right now, it's all about affordability. I think everybody knows that. And Habitat's closing the gap. It's why we're needed so much. We just have to do more. We have to do more. It's why Greater Des Moines did their capital campaign. It's why we're doing one as well. And I know you want what you want for yourself. I know you want for low to moderate income families in Des Moines what you want for yourself and your family. And what is that? You want a decent place to live that you can afford, that is safe. We all want that because the desire for home is universal, no matter what you look like, no matter your income status or where you come from, how you vote, where you live. You all want it. We all do. The truth is, we all want the same thing: safe, decent shelter. that we can afford. I saw that desire on the faces of people I met in Nepal and in Africa and in Central America. Everyone wants a home where they can build a foundation for a beautiful life. And shouldn't they have that? It's a question. Shouldn't we all have that? Of course, we all should. None of us want to worry about where we're gonna live, how we're gonna live next week, next month, or next year. We wanna be able to plan for the future. We do. And we wanna be able to build generational wealth. You hear people talking about that so much. It's real, it's a real thing. And we're all here tonight because we share that vision. Habitat is about sustainable housing that's affordable, quality, safe, healthy. You all are part of making that happen. Lastly, I wanted to share a couple of quotes with you that really resonated with me based on my own personal circumstances. So the first goes this way. The life of man is a struggle on earth, but without a cross, without a struggle, we get nowhere. The victory will be ours if we continue our efforts courageously. I think courageously is the key word there. That's attributed to Archabet Boniface Swimmer. I've also heard another quote from Brene Brown, and we talk about this at our affiliate. And she talks about how hard it is to be courageous and comfortable at the same time. I feel it. I feel it all the time. I find myself living in discomfort most of the time. Not in a way where I actually feel physical pain, but where I feel anxious about what my organization could or should be doing because there's so many people counting on us. Because the truth is, it can't be done without people like yourself, all of you who care. It can't be done without the community really stepping up affirmingly to support this life-changing work. And so I just want to thank you for bearing with me and allowing me to share with you. And thank you for being here tonight. And thank you for just letting me share my story. Thanks, everybody.